Hello and welcome to Paradigm Playbook, a podcast for entrepreneurs in the business of sports. Your hosts, Dave Kozak and Steve Cook, are business owners, successful entrepreneurs, sports enthusiasts, avid readers, and longtime friends. For years, they've read every business book on the market and built successful companies with what they've learned. This podcast will give you the critical takeaways in just 15 minutes a week. It's a quick and easy playbook for building a winning sports business. And now, here are your hosts, Dave and Steve.
Did we help you learn, grow, and improve? Leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Paradigm Playbooks podcast. Dave Kozak alongside co-host Mr. Steve Cook. As always, Niles in the corner.
What's up, guys?
Morning, David.
So today, Steve, we're going to talk about we're kind of do a straight switch on people here. We've been through management. We've been through time management. We've been through habits. We've been through all the different kind of managerial stuff. But now we're really going to talk about where the rubber meets the road for most entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, and this is probably, as soon as we announce what the topic is, when we're going to hear the click, click, click.
Everybody
Nobody wants to listen to this one.
But it's all about prospecting and finding clients and how you do it. And, you know, I think the first thing that everybody has to consider when prospecting is what is the ideal client. And if you haven't made up a doppelganger or a vision of what the right prospect is, you don't have your key target. You don't have your key target. You're essentially throwing anything you can against the wall and hoping something sticks.
And, you know, if you're selling orange juice, maybe you can do that.
Yep.
Or if shoes or something like that. In our business, a lot of the businesses that we're dealing with are specific sports businesses. More and more are getting to be general sports businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are in the business of children. But your ideal customer profile is what you're talking about is inside that circle. And you need to know who they are, what gender they are, how old they are, where do they live, what are they thinking, where do they work, what do they do, what's their other experience, all those things to develop.
Where do they shop? How do they shop? How do they behave? I mean, all that stuff. And it's funny too, because, you know, I'm in the insurance business and I do a lot of consulting with insurance companies and I should say insurance agents. And everybody's like, oh, insurance is great because everybody needs it. The problem that you'll face with that is that everybody needs it, and which means your sample size is huge, but your focus is also equally huge. When you have a huge focus like that, you won't bring it in. So we're kind of the example. Our industry is the example of orange juice, right? But the step necessary to get repeatable results is to define that ideal client, whether it's the family, whether you want families with 4 kids under 10 or 2 kids under 5, like whatever it is, define it and go after it, because you will cast such a wide net that it's almost unattainable, right?
I think there's 2 difficulties that entrepreneurs come. One is they cast too wide of a net.
Yep.
And another is they're too restricted in where they go. We just had this conversation with a group of gymnastic business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the question is, if you were marketing, who would you want to reach? And the answer that comes back most often is anybody that, you know, wants or does gymnastics and appreciates the sport of gymnastics. And my answer is, wouldn't the rest of them be the more logical? Because you have a better chance of closing if you truly believe, and this is where I rang up the quote, the world would be a better place if everybody did a little bit of gymnastics. No matter what you're going to turn out to in life, if you're teaching gymnastics, I got to believe you believe that.
Mm-hmm.
At Grand Slam, we believe that, you know, baseball is a core activity that every boy and girl should do, at least till they get to the big bases.
Yeah.
But everybody should do it. So our goal is, you know, geographically restrained, but not gender restrained or or intent restraint.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's a huge point too, is you, right, Steve, we could both go after the same client.
Absolutely.
Only one of us gets that client.
Right.
Right. So wouldn't it be a naturally larger and more scalable thing if you were going after a client that someone else wasn't going after and had the ability to service that client, right? To create clients, to create new blood to the sport, new blood to the agency, new blood to the business is what you want, right? I think we often, I tell everybody when they're starting a business, right? Whatever your budget is for your business, add 20% for marketing, right? Don't, like, it'd be like starting a restaurant, right? And you spend all your money on equipment and you spend all your money and you got great food, but nobody shows up for the first 2 weeks and your inventory goes in the garbage because you didn't cook any of the food. Now you don't have the money to replace the inventory and you've set yourself back, right? Would it be better to have good equipment, delicious food, and a full restaurant and run out, or to have too much and serve it, right? Or to have too much and not serve it, right? Which one is the better one? Always to run out, right? I think there's an old story about two brothers who were getting into a competition to start a whatever it was, two identical businesses, and the one brother started negotiating with the other, said, I want the best burgers. There was burger shops, and I want the best burgers, the best buns. I want the best recipe. I want the best grill, equipment, location, all this. The other brother gave in, and he goes, all I want is one thing. And he goes, a starving crowd.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the idea here is if you can really define and create a attraction model to a particular subset or group, go after that first. The rest of them will come from that. Meaning, like, let's say for a gymnastics facility, you want 10 and unders. So you have to target families of a certain demographic, like economic demographic and location demographic. You hit them. Well, and all of a sudden you start to get some people trickling in on this side. Well, here's your next group. Okay, I got a group of 12-year-olds coming in. Let's go get them. And so I think defining one and filling it out doesn't exclude you from doing another, but it gives you a target. And without a target, it's very hard to prospect.
I think you need to focus both on prospecting to those that have a gain in mind and a pain that they want to get out of. So if you're in a fitness business, you want to market to those that want to lose weight or want to get in better shape, and those that want to compete in a weightlifting competition. So there's two ways to go, pain and gain. And that's pretty much in every business. I think there's a pain and gain angle to it. But Seth Godin is big on saying, find the people in a certain tribe. And it's better to have 10 tribes that all need your business than to try to market to all 10 of those groups with the same message. So it becomes, we talk about this all the time. It's how you tell your story, and marketing, branding, sales. It's all about storytelling, and you have to be able to tell that story.
Yeah, without question. And, I look back to the prospecting. One of the things that I've always focused on in prospecting for all my companies was at least 3 different, full scale models for 3 different subsets. I always wanted at least 3 attraction models. We call them attraction models, but 3 ways people are coming in. So the one is your straight outbound, go and get them, right? That's one. That's the hardcore sales trying to go get business. But then what are the other 3 that you're doing, right? So we have a presentation model where we go out and give presentations and we attract people from the presentations. We have our cold call sales marketing. We have our presentations, and then we have our, kind of web-based marketing that brings people in through a different avenue, all generating the same type of individual. But one of the lessons learned early was I had a single track for marketing and prospecting. And that single track, when it dries up, well, darn, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Right. And so at no point can you have just a single pronged approach. The other piece of that I will say is, if you tell the story right and you follow through on the story and you get your clients to tell the same story, you create the referral. And the referral is probably the single best, most influential prospect that you can have, because you didn't have to spend $1 to get them. It was at the quality of the work done, and they show up. And so, the referrals is another part of ours, and we probably have 5 or 6 now, but it started with one, and I immediately built a second one because I was always afraid I was not going to have that other option.
It seems to me that in the sports business, a lot of people fall back on the story that is the most fun to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's true in baseball and in dance and martial arts. We talk about the number of kids that we've helped get college scholarships.
Yep.
We talk about the number of black belts we have, the number that have gone on to perform at the ballet. Then, and it does two things. It talks to our success at coaching. But in a way, I was working with and in fact, I'm consulting right now with a gymnastic club called Advanced Gymnastics. And I said, how'd you come up with a name? And, we want kids to reach this high level. I said, in no way are you worried that someone's going to look at you and say, well, my kid's not advanced. So we did a survey. Well, turns out that there's people not going there because they thought that club was for advanced gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you could do there is advanced. So if I started a company that said college baseball training, it probably wouldn't do as well as now. My story that, we get all the kids to the big field is different than college baseball training.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
get some, or all-star baseball. That insinuates a higher level. This is for the all-star kids. My business is for everybody else.
If you have any business-related questions, feel free to send them over to us at playbook@paradigmplaybook.com. We're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about the message given in that story. And I always look at everything as spinning plates. So you're 3 spinning plates, and now it's probably up to 6 or 7 spinning
Mm-hmm.
plates. But you just got to be careful when you move on to the 5th one. You don't let the first one drop
fall.
off.
That's it. 100%. And it's funny too, because you talk about advanced gymnastics as a name, and more I've been surprised at business names that are simple and cheeky, but they work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Get to the next level gymnastics.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want my kid to get to the next level. I can line up with that. Well, my kid's not really advanced, so I'm not going to go there.
Right.
But if it said get to the next level, would they go there? Right. You just, and so I think a lot of that comes down to brand too, right? We can talk about brand, but this is more about prospecting, actually finding people. But brand matters. All of that stuff matters in the message you delivered, or in the message you're trying to deliver. What do you think is the best way to start prospecting campaigns, Steve? Let's talk about the sports business for a minute, because then I'll transition into the white collar world.
So in my very ancient world that I come from, it's all face to face. It's everything's a referral, even if it's a self referral. So everything goes back to talking to that prospect. And if I can talk to that prospect, I think I have the better chance. Personally, as I've advanced in my career, I find it much more valuable if I can talk to 50 people at one time rather than one person at a time. So now I'm doing more public speaking, talking to more PTA groups. That's where I go rather than one-on-one. The problem that I see in prospecting now is a lot of businesses will tell me about their connections on social media, or their likes, or I e-blasted 2,000 clubs, and I just don't know. And if that's the beginning of a sales funnel, and we'll get into this, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about funnels
in other issues when we're talking about sales funnels. But I think if you're counting on just email and social or just digital, I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think we talked about being present in the last episode. I think being present and understanding you have a job to do. And I will argue this, I've argued it from day one, that the easiest client to get money from is the client that just wrote you a check, right? And so while you're launching a business or starting a business, be available, be present, let people see you, talk to them, greet them, thank them for their business. That simple gesture. Imagine if you walked into an athletic facility and, the head honcho who sent 300 people to college to play baseball came out and shook the hand of a dad of a 5-year-old who brought his kid in for a baseball lesson. What does that do for that? That's 15 years of money going in that company's door just because of that one act of, well, you're not too good for anybody, right? And I think a lot of times in sports, right, the person that started it or the best trainer or the best coach kind of steps out of the limelight and only works with the people that progress through because that's where they want to take it. And I say, you're missing the idea of being in business if that's how you treat it.
I always use the analogy that in the automobile sales business, the number one closing tactic is a test drive. And I think that can be applied to a lot of businesses. So, Dave, you were involved with me in doing a lot of our Little League coaching clinics. That was the ultimate in prospecting because we would get, 50 to 75 Little League coaches there. And there's only one reason someone's a Little League coach is because they have a Little League child. Almost nobody volunteers to coach Little League if they don't have a child in the league. But so we have them captured for an hour telling them why they need instruction for their kids. That was the number one thing for return on our business that we did. And so we just duplicated. We went from league to league to league doing these talks. So that's giving your sales pitch, giving a little bit of your product away for free. And so if you're walking, there's a reason as you are walking on the boardwalk and there's someone out there with a plate of fudge giving you a taste of the fudge. That's the test drive for that fudge. I'm going to go buy a pound of that stuff. So, I think there's a lot to be said for the test drive in prospecting.
Well, and I think going back to that example you were just using of we did the coaches clinics where we got all the Little League coaches had to come in and we taught them how to teach the game of baseball the right way. But then took it a step further and we went out onto their field with all of their players and we showed them how to run a station-based practice in real time. And they were like, I remember people being like, you're not going to organize 120 kids on one field
we did it with 4 of us.
Yeah. And it's just knowing the time you can spend there, the amount of energy it takes to keep everybody else's energy up and not letting focus run away, which I think is relatable to any business, right? One of the things we do in our college planning business is we give everybody that comes to one of our presentations or has a desire to come in, we'll give them a free hour.
A test drive.
Yeah. And we'll let them ask us questions and we'll help get to the root of their problem in college planning, whether it's affording it, getting in, whatever it may be. And at the end of that hour, if you want to go with us, this is what it costs to go with us. If not, here's the best advice we can give you. And please tell your friends that we exist and send them on their way. Right.
Yeah. I think the key to that test drive or that seminar that you do or our coaches clinic or whatever it is, that part of that is you listening, because normally if you're talking, so definitely if you're talking to someone one-on-one, they will always tell you what will sell them. Usually their first objection is what you need to solve to sell them. So if you're prospecting and you can listen to people, you go out there and listen. So one of the ways that, something else we do at Grand Slam is do birthday parties. I don't kid myself. Now they come for laser tag and mini golf and all the fun arcade games. The number one thing in prospecting is we do the cleanup. So if I'm talking to the mom, I say, the best thing about this party is when you walk, party's done. You don't have to clean up. So That's a big deal. So if you can identify through your prospecting
Yep.
what their hurt point is, solve that. And that's what gets you into selling. I want to say one more thing is I think this whole discussion, and we're going to go through the whole sales process over the course of several weeks here. We're going to go prospecting, presenting, overcoming objections, and closing. And that's the sales loop that we all go through over and over again. I think too many small businesses, especially in the sports business, kind of hide this whole thing. You know, it's not comfortable. They're not used to it. It's not how they operate. Some people feel, you know, talking about how great we are. I mean, isn't that a little bit like bragging? Yeah, kind of. We're proud of what we do. So I think it requires a little bit of bragging. So, you know, get your story right.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of being in business, or the beginning of being in business, you better be passionate about it. And if you're passionate about it, that should come through in everything you talk about. And letting people see that passion is important in the message.
So the first time I ever went to one of your elite collegiate planning webinars, and I was beyond getting kids ready for college, but I was there because I wanted to see the presentation. And all I came away with is, oh my God, why doesn't everybody do this? So you have anybody that has a child that may go to college falls into one of your buckets.
Yep.
So you have to figure out in your prospecting, I can get to these, you know, stay-at-home moms this way. I can get to the dads that are business owners this way. I can get the ones that work 9 to 5 this. So you have to have 5 different paths of prospecting to get to all those people. But that doesn't diminish the fact that anybody that is thinking about college needs this.
Yeah. And, you know, the 2 things I'll say about that, which I think everybody can apply to their business, or they should figure this out, is the one thing we love about the college planning space that we occupy is it regenerates itself every year, right?
Yeah.
Kids graduate, they go, the next group comes up, and it's a constant cycle. Well, any real business is the same way. What's the next group on the horizon for you? And how do you target it? How do you target earlier? How do you get, and telling the stories of what has been done the earlier someone starts. I mean, you talk about Steve finding the objection. We get an objection all the time. People come in and they feel they're early. Well, we're a little early. We're just checking around. Well, if I could tell you that I could save you $100,000 on college if we started today as opposed to starting in 2 years, would you believe me?
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, that's the truth. So, and I can show you case study after case study is how that works. And so again, finding the objection, finding the audience, being passionate about the story you tell, being passionate about the business, and never hiding, right? I think hiding is something that I've watched entrepreneurs do. From restaurateurs to, I mean, think about the first time you were at a restaurant where someone was doing a grand opening. Everybody was there. The owner, the chef was out talking to people. Well, how many restaurants you go to now where the chef stops around the tables?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a long time. What about the owner? Are they out asking people how their meal was?
Not even the manager usually. Right? Yeah.
And so I think you lose that. And those are the difference maker things. And if you go back to habits, Steve, those little habits, that owner coming out to that group of 5-year-olds and, you know, giving them each a high five and shaking the hands and introducing himself and thanking them for the business. It's just stupid things like that are huge.
Yeah. I think that the owners in sports clubs have to make sure that they're relating to every child and every parent. And that has to be a part of their time allocation and their planning. And it's great how every podcast we do kind of overlaps and underlaps, you know, something else we've talked about. But when you're doing your scheduling and you know that there's a changeover 10 minutes where one class is going and that's when you need to be out on the floor. That's when you need to get out of your office. I send out this list of 10 things that every business owner can do to improve their business. And one is get the heck out of the office.
Yep.
And that's a big thing. In fact, you know, that's another podcast at some point, but we'll go through the sales process. I think next week we're going to go into details about how to present your business. If you're going to create that sale down the road, there's a way you structure the presentation of it and tell your story. And we can tell some of the stories of the things that we've done that I think will help other business owners.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that whole presentation you were talking about was constructed because I had to create a baseline for people.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to be educated to a baseline before you get it. So lots of great stuff there. I think the key to prospecting is to prospect on purpose. Go out
absolutely.
and talk to people, right? Tell them, whether it's in your lobby, whether it's at lunch, whether it's, just do it.
One of the keys, and I'll close with this, that it will tie into habits and prospecting, is that somewhere in every day, you have to have the habit of how am I growing my business? And when you're in that habit, prospecting will come up.
100%. All right, everybody. That's Paradigm Playbook's podcast on prospecting.
Make it a great day.
Paradigm Playbook offers business, reset, and expansion expertise. Visit ParadigmPlaybook.com to see how we can assist you.